guys, it's Kristen with ICStarsQuilting.com. I am back today with more tips, tricks, and tutorials for the modern quilter. Today, what we are going to be working on is how to twirl your quilt seams, okay? It doesn't have anything to do with the front of the block. It actually has things to do with the back of the block. Now, this is a question that I am answering from a specific viewer on YouTube. If you have questions and you're not quite sure how to do something or it doesn't make sense to you, make sure you contact me, let me know, and I will create a video for you that explains exactly why you need to do it and how to do it and make it so super simple for you to follow, okay? So let's get back to how to twirl your quilt seams. It's also called popping your quilt seams, and it's also just making sure your quilt seams are nice and flat. Now this happens when you have 4 different blocks right here that come together and you've got kind of a bulk of seams right here that, like, I don't know, sometimes it can get awkward when you're doing like machine quilting. Perhaps you've got like a really old quilting machine and you don't want to just put way too many layers in there, okay? So what the finished result is gonna look like is this right here, where you have a nice display of flat quilt seams. Nothing is way thicker than the rest of them right there, okay? So you can see here that I'm not wasting a lot of time here. I don't usually iron my seams flat, okay? I push them to one side and iron them and call it good, okay? Do whatever you feel comfortable with, but this tutorial that I'm gonna give you today is ironing your seams flat or pressed to one side, okay? And then we're going to reduce the bulk in the middle here so that you don't have everything down here pushed to one side and have a really extra heavy spot in your quilt right there, okay? Let's move on to the sewing machine and the tutorial. Okay, so let's get started. What I have here are some 4-inch squares that I just had some extra fabric for and went ahead and squared it up. And then I have some 5.5-inch squares that I'm gonna be working with. So I'm gonna set the 4-inch squares aside and I'm gonna work on the 5.5-inch squares. Now, it's just 2 blue ones and 2 kind of cream ones, and that is only just because that's what I had on hand in my scrap pile and I really like these colors together. We're gonna make a cute block out of these. So I'm gonna take one of each and we're going to sew this together. Now, if you haven't seen my video on how to chain piece squares, that is a really helpful video for when you're using a lot of blocks in your quilt, okay? So I'm gonna put the link across the top here for you to see that video. I'm gonna do a 1/4-inch seam all the way down one side right here. And then I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna put my other 2 squares together. Again, right sides together, 1/4-inch seam all the way down this side here. I'm gonna cut these apart, and what I'm left with is just sewing 2 pieces of fabric together. The next step that I'm going to show you is how to iron these to where you will get nice flat seams. Quick confession here, I don't usually iron my seams open. So for this exercise, I'm gonna show you how I normally do it. Now, if you like to press your seams open and you feel like that gives you an overall flatter, nicer quilt, okay, or you're doing it like as a show quilt or something that is going to be really heavily judged, then I suggest you go ahead and do your seams open, okay? Personally, in my quilts, I don't find that one tiny, thin, minuscule layer of fabric is actually gonna make that big of a difference in the overall fluffiness of my quilt. So I normally iron my seams to one side. Now, in this example right here, where I have a dark fabric and a light fabric, I'm gonna press my seams this way to the dark fabric. Let's go ahead and get these pressed. I'm going to show you exactly how to press them so that your seams, when they meet in the middle, lay really nice and flat. This is how my seams are going to come together, how my fabric placement is going to be when I have this finished piece done. Now, I stated just a minute ago, I like to press my seams to the dark side and press them flat. So that's what I'm going to do right here. I'm going to press my seams to one side here. Now when I'm pressing them, I do kind of tend to go up and down just a little bit and move around. And then if I'm really trying to get the nicest seam possible, and more than likely I'm doing a very small project like this, I will go on the front side and iron again just to make sure that everything is pressed nice. Now, my seams are pressed. The next step we're going to do is we're going to sew these two pieces together. Now, I have a video on nesting seams. We're going to go through this a little bit faster. If you want a little bit more detailed explanation, go ahead and check out the link that is at the top of this screen right now. That'll show you a little bit more on nesting seams. The short version is I have a seam that goes this way and I have a seam that goes that way. We want to make these seams line up just like this and pinch them right here so that when these come out, this will be a very nice matchy-matchy seam. You won't have any gap in there. So again, I'm gonna open this up so you can see just a little bit the framework of how I have one going this way over here and then one going this way over on this side. Pinch them together. You can kind of feel it with your fingers right here. So pinch them together and then take it to your sewing machine. You're gonna sew all the way down one side, and again I like to pinch this, or you can put a pin or a clip here. It's whatever will make you feel more secure about that staying in place. Here is the finished sewn seam all the way down this side. Now, when I pull this open, you can tell, check this out right here. That piece right there, those corners come together absolutely perfect, okay? That's a quilter's dream right there, to have all of your points meet up nice and square. Now, on this side, this is where the turning of that seam to make it nice and flat comes in really, really handy. What you want to do is you want to get in there and you want to separate these two seams right there. You want to separate them. I'm going to hold it out and I'm going to pull. Okay, this is the little 4-inch squares, and I want to show you one little problem you might encounter while you're doing this. It is not so much of a problem as just a how in the world did she do that? Okay, so you stitched all the way down this side. Most of the time, if you just pull these apart a little bit, you will get these to separate, okay? So I'm gonna do this way and this way. But if these don't come apart right here, you may need to take your seam ripper or your fingernail and just kind of pull a little bit, because you do want to detach this right here from this seam up here. And there is my nice flat seam right there. What they call that is how to pop your seam, okay? So you can see I have a nice tiny little, almost like a quilt block right there, where my seams lay flat this way, this way, this way, and this way. That does reduce the bulk of this corner right here where all of your seams come together. So what I did was I pulled this seam open and I pressed one fabric this way and one fabric this way. So what you get is your seams are going in either a counterclockwise or a clockwise position. In my case, they're going in a clockwise position. I have one going this way, one going this way, one going this way, and then one going this way. Okay, so I get a nice rotation of my seams, which makes things overall flatter and really, really nice and pressed. And here is the finished block. Another tip to get really, really flat seams is this product right here. It's called Flatter. It is a spray that you just spritz on your fabric. It has a nice soft scent to it. This one is the Celebration scent. It's in a cute pink bottle. They have several other scents if you'd like to try a different one. This one just kind of smells a little bit flowery, but I don't know if you can see it on the camera exactly, but there's just a tiny bit of steam that comes off of this, and it just does exactly what the name says it does. It makes your fabrics just a little bit flatter. It doesn't leave any starchy marks or any starchy feel to it. It's still really, really soft and easy to move, but it just makes things a little bit nicer and a little bit less wrinkly. And this should work on any quilt block you have, no matter how many seams you have on this, whether I'm joining this to the next quilt block, to the next, to the next, to the next. What you want to make sure is you have all of your seams on top, okay, on this top row right here, what I'm calling the top row. going this way, and all of your seams on the next row going this way. Again, go ahead and watch that chain piecing video or the nesting seams video that I have that will explain these two techniques just a little bit more. And then this will happen naturally after you know those skills. And that's it. That is your finished quilt block with a nice popped seam on the back or twirled seam, a nice flat seam, no matter what you call it. Actually, it's been given lots and lots of different names, okay? But that is how you're going to get the flattest seams possible on the back of your quilt. There you have it. If you have any questions, please feel free to leave them down in the comments down below, and I will get back with you as soon as possible on that. If you have other ideas or questions on videos that you would like me to do, please also feel free to email me those or leave those in the comments down below too. Don't forget, I just opened up a brand new membership tab in my community. Super exciting. We're doing our first live video later on this month. I'm doing Q&A videos where you can ask me anything while I'm working, okay? Anything quilting related. I'm happy to answer those questions. Please go ahead, check that out. Look over in your tabs across your YouTube, or look down at the bottom right next to that subscribe button, right down there, that subscribe button. Look down there and see if you can find the join button to get more information. For more tips, tricks, and tutorials, do hit that subscribe button. Make sure that it says that you are subscribed. You'll get notified when I post new videos. Until next time, my name is Kristen with ICStarsQuilting.com, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye.